Ladies and gentlemen, this is the day that the Lord has made. We are rejoicing and we are glad in it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ramonepreston Show. If you are joining me live, do me a quick favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, tag Lolly Dolly everybody and let them know your boy, Ramonepreston, my squad. We are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. Today is Tuesday, August the 1st, 2023. It is the 12 o'clock noon hour, Eastern Standard Time, and you, my friends, you are watching the Ramonepreston Show. Welcome. Please put in the comments what city you're watching me from. Let me know what city you're watching me from. Wherever you're watching me from, put in the city. Put in the city. Put in the city. Put the name of the city in the comments that you're watching me from. Who are you representing? What city are you representing? For all of you that are students or mentees in one of our programs, I want you to put in the comments, let the world know that you're a student. Let the world know you are a mentee. If you're not a student or a mentee, I still want you to know that we appreciate you watching the Ramonepreston Show. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ramonepreston. I am the host of the Ramonepreston Show. Every Monday through Friday, just like today, live, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, I'm here to give you information that I know can help you start, structure, or scale any business, any income stream that you might have in mind. Please, if you're coming on, joining me live, I'm just asking you to do me a quick favor. Put in the comments what city you're watching me from. Shout out to Santa Ana, California on IG. We appreciate you watching the Ramonepreston Show. If you could just put the name of the city that you're watching me from. We have people who watch the live, who watch the replays, and we just like to let the world know that there are people in the world watching the Ramonepreston Show. And again, if you're a student or a client or mentee in any of our programs, our educational programs, our coaching programs, or if you're just a client that we work with on a consulting level, it would be great for you to put in the comments so that other people who watch the show can know that we actually have real people that we're helping on a day-to-day basis. So I appreciate all of you for watching the Ramonepreston Show today. Super excited about all the great things that we have going on. Louisiana is in the house. Shout out to our Louisiana family. Appreciate you for watching the show. My hope and expectation is that this week, this day has been going absolutely amazing for you. Today, I want to talk about the common documents used by a holding company. So for all of you that follow me on a regular basis, you already know one of the biggest topics that we talk about is the topic of holding companies. And one of the reasons why I talk so much about holding companies, because number one, I have a holding company and I have used my holding company in so many common and creative ways that has helped me to build a seven-figure organizational enterprise. Excuse me. And I don't like to leave people in my community out from knowing what you can use to leverage whatever it is that you're doing as an entrepreneur. Like, for those of you that are entrepreneurs, you already know what I'm saying when I say this. If you're not an entrepreneur, you need to understand this. Entrepreneurship is hard. Starting a business, structuring that business, and then scaling that business at least enough so that you can actually make money and take care of yourself and be a blessing to your family, to your community. It's not easy. It's a very difficult task. So when you don't have resources, when you don't have a lot of working capital, when you don't have credit lines that are into the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, When you ain't really got a whole lot of support and you trying to build a business from the ground up, anything that you can use as a leverage point to help you grow that business is important to you as an entrepreneur. All my entrepreneurs know what I'm talking about. So whether it's personal credit, whether it's an asset that you personally own, whether it's a relationship that you have, whether it's a piece of real estate, a piece of equipment, it could be a computer, anything that you have that you can use as a leverage point to help grow your business, that means everything to you. Well, for me, I understand that even when you don't have credit, when you don't have money, when you don't have a whole lot of connections and networks and relationships with people, when you don't have a whole lot of assets like real estate, cars, and anything of that manner, when you ain't got all that, but all you got is knowledge about business and how to structure businesses and how to really take your day-to-day activities and make it mean something to a business entity, sometimes that's the only thing you got to use. So I talk a lot about holding companies because I know for a person who started out the mud and got to where I am as a business owner, I know that one of the contributing factors that helped me leverage and scale my business is the fact that I have a holding company, I have subsidiaries, I have an infrastructure that gives me the ability, it gives me the flexibility, it gives me the ability to do a whole lot of things within my enterprise and to create a lot of activities that at least makes it look like I got a lot going on. You got to be able to do that. Okay, and so the holding company is a very important topic that I talk about a lot. Number one, because I want you to build your business in a way that your business can become your legacy. There are so many things about businesses, particularly holding companies, that I can talk about today, but I'm not going to bore you talking about all that. We have a lot of videos and a lot of content on our social media page, particularly on YouTube. And of course, we have courses and mentorship programs that help our people develop these business structures. But just for today, I wanted to talk to you about the common documents used by a holding company. So again, if you don't know what a holding company is, that's another conversation we got to have. If you don't know how the holding company works, that's another conversation. Because once you get your holding company set up and you get your paperwork filed and formed, now you need to learn how to actually manage that company. How do you use it? Like, what exactly are you going to do to benefit from it? I get people to ask me this question all the time, because what happens in a lot of cases is you go to somebody, they do your paperwork, they give you your operating agreement or whatever they give you your EIN number, they give you your articles of organization, and then you sitting home like twiddling your thumbs trying to figure out, okay, now what do I do? What do I do now that I have a holding company set up? I don't even know what to do. I don't even know where to start. And you got to learn all the ins and outs about a holding company. Well, one of the things that you need to familiarize yourself with when it comes to having a holding company or having operating companies or building this type of infrastructure, one of the things that you need to familiarize yourself with is the type of documents you should be using to leverage this enterprise. All right. So I'm not the best artist, but let me just try to give you a sketch of what I'm talking about. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a little sketch of what I'm talking about. Hopefully y'all can see this little sketch. So this is you. All right. Might be you and your spouse or you and a partner, and you start your first holding company, which is typically a LLC. All right. So you have your holding company. There's a whole nother discussion behind ways that you can use this holding company. All you got to do is go back to some of my videos on YouTube or any other platform that we're on, and you can watch the videos on ways to use this holding company. There are common ways you can use it. There are creative ways you can use it. Some people will argue that a holding company is only supposed to hold assets. No, that's the primary purpose of a holding company, but that don't have to be the only purpose of a holding company. As a matter of fact, yesterday on the show, I shared with you 5 ways you can actually make money using a holding company. So this company can actually generate new revenue for you if you use not just the common, but the creative ways to make money using a holding company. But let's just say you start your holding company, right? Okay, then let's say you have another LLC that you want to start, maybe 2 LLCs, because you got other businesses that need to be separate entities from the holding company. Not everything needs to be separated, okay? But a lot of the things that we do in business when it comes to selling products or providing services, those things should be separated from the holding company, all right? Now, once you have this set up, there are certain documents you need to familiarize yourself with, because these documents are going to be used not just for legal purposes, but they're going to be used for operational purposes to give you the ability to leverage this enterprise that you're creating. And it may start with a holding company or 1 or 2 operating companies under it. That's the typical starting point for a lot of people who get introduced to the holding company. So what that means is you might already have an LLC that you set up, and you out there trying to start an online store, you selling t-shirts, you washing cars, you do whatever you do. You provide a service, you sell a product. Most entrepreneurs, they'll start the LLC, right? Once you get familiar with the holding company and this concept, most likely you're going to start a holding company and perhaps put the ownership of the existing LLC under the holding company. And you may even start another company because you have some investing venture that you want to get into, or a totally separate business. So a typical starting point for most people, at least the people that I might sit down with and talk to and help them put a structure together, this is like a typical starting point. You're going to have a holding company, and you're probably going to have at least 1 or 2 separate LLCs. So what are some of the common documents used by a holding company with a infrastructure similar to this? Well, one of the first documents is an operating agreement. And I know somebody is watching this saying, yeah, but everybody's supposed to know that. No, everybody don't know that. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and work with a lot of entrepreneurs who have LLCs and don't have an operating agreement. So your operating agreement for an LLC is like the do's and don'ts, the what ifs. It is the operating agreement. It is what you document to specify how this LLC is going to operate. So this is a very important document for you to have, whether it's you owning the holding company or you and someone else owning the holding company, or your holding company owning other LLCs. You want an operating agreement. So how many operating agreements should you have? Well, you should have as many operating agreements as you have LLCs. So in this case, if you have a holding company LLC and your holding company has 2 other LLCs, that would mean you need how many operating agreements? You would need 3. You want an operating agreement between you and the holding company. That would be number 1. Then you would want an operating agreement between the holding company and these two LLCs, or however many LLCs that you have, if you have it set up. In this example, this would be 3 operating agreements. And again, your operating agreement is going to spell out what the agreement is to operate that LLC. Okay? So if you have an operating agreement between you and the holding company, most likely the operating agreement is going to say that this LLC is purposed to be a holding company. If there are certain specific details you want to put into that, you put it in. And most operating agreements are already pre-drafted. Of course, you can go to an attorney or a CPA, someone who puts these entities together, and they can draft you one. Or you can get an operating agreement online. We provide them inside of our Millionaire Blueprint, our course. So inside of our holding company course, we have sample operating agreements for single member LLCs and for multi-member LLCs. And they're already drafted up. All the important information that's needed is already in there. You just fill in the blanks, sign it, and in most cases, you can even notarize it. And it's only going to be for your file. So you're going to sign it. If you notarize it, you're going to put it in your file just to keep in your records so that you know exactly what that operating agreement is, okay? But you want to have an operating agreement between the holding company and any other LLC that it owns as well, so that you are clear how that other LLC is operating. So that's one of the documents that you're going to use inside of your holding company. What is another agreement or document that you're gonna use? This is a very common or not so common. This is an asset transfer agreement. Now, depending on what type of operating agreement you have, and again, I'm not an attorney, so you need to talk to your attorney if you're involving other people, if your operating agreement is complex and there are some nuances that need to be added. You want to make sure that you talk to your attorney. But a lot of times what happens is, if you have a good operating agreement, there may be certain clauses or areas in that operating agreement that speak to assets being transferred, okay? But in a general situation, an asset transfer agreement will really just be an agreement that you're using to transfer assets. So let's say, for example, if there are certain things that you personally own, personally, and you want this particular thing that you own to be transferred and owned by the holding company, or transferred and owned by a LLC under your holding company, how are you going to transfer the ownership of that? Well, you typically do that with an asset transfer agreement. So you're just spelling out, this particular thing that I own, I'm transferring the ownership of it to this particular company. And now this company owns it. Of course, you can sign it, get it notarized. And again, what I'm saying to you is only from the perspective of an entrepreneur. Okay, so I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert at any of these documents and agreements. I'm just giving you some insight into common documents used by a holding company. Because all these documents that I'm talking about, I'll say most of them, I've either gotten them from my attorney, or I've found them or put them together, some of the language, and submitted it to my attorney to see, is it written the right way? Does this spell out the things that I need? And again, a lot of the agreements or documentation that I use, I just let my attorney draft those documents so I can know that they're correct. But those documents vary. So it's not always like an asset transfer document. Okay, so that's number 2. This is number 1. This is number 2. I have another one. Another common document used by a holding company is a lease agreement. a lease agreement. And this could either be used by the holding company because the holding company is leasing a subsidiary some item or some piece of equipment, or it could be an entirely different LLC under your holding company that you're using as a leasing company. So you can own a leasing company, and that leasing company actually has lease agreements to lease certain items to other companies inside of its ecosystem or outside of its ecosystem. Okay, it could be cars, it could be homes, it could be boats, it could be whatever. But again, that's a common agreement. And as I said to all of you, if you put together this type of corporate structure with holding companies and subsidiaries, you're going to need these common documents because they're going to be the paper trails that you use to show what is going on in this corporate structure and what type of benefit these activities have, okay? Because these activities can have a lot of monetary benefit, not just to the subsidiaries, but a lot of monetary benefit to the holding company as a whole. So that's another common document used by a holding company. So I just gave you 3 right there. I'm gonna give you 2 more, okay? Number 4 would be a service agreement. This is a service agreement. Now, I'm using the word service agreement a little ambiguous. Like I'm using it a little loose because a service agreement could actually be a specific service that you're providing through the holding company to the subsidiaries, or maybe to clients outside of your subsidiary. So the service agreement can represent an asset management agreement that you have with another company. It could represent a consulting agreement that you have because you're providing consulting services through your holding company. It could be an agreement you have through your program if you have a coaching program. So that would be a type of service agreement. It could actually be an agreement that you have with an educational course or platform that you require an agreement. Those are service type agreements, okay? But you want those agreements. So whether it's for asset management, whether it's for consulting, whether it's for coaching, or whether it's for education, those are all service type agreements, okay? And the good thing is, if you need all of these agreements, again, number 1, you got a lawyer, go to your lawyer and let your lawyer know what you're doing and you want them to draft an agreement. You're going to pay them, but that's going to be the right way, the best way to do it, okay? The next thing could be you just go to Google or you go to eForms, or you just search the internet and find agreements. But like, I'm not going to say they're going to work for you. I don't know, because they might not have the language you need for the relationship that you have, all right? And number 3, and I definitely wouldn't be using operating agreements without making sure that the language is right. You know, some of these other agreements, even a lease agreement, I'd be leery about. Anytime you're dealing with anybody outside of your own ecosystem, like you could be using all these agreements within your enterprise. So you can have a holding company, you can have 5 LLC subsidiaries, and you can have all these agreements working within your enterprise. But when you are dealing with people or companies outside of that, you definitely got to make sure this paperwork is correct, okay? But we also provide sample agreements for all these inside of our Millionaire Blueprint. Of course we do, because we want our students and our mentees to get what we have. so that they can know how we draft up our operating agreements, how we use asset transfer agreements, lease agreements, service agreements for either asset management, consulting, coaching, and education. I'm gonna give y'all one more agreement, okay? The last agreement would be a licensing agreement. So this would be if you have intellectual property, copyrights, publishing rights, things that you own inside of your holding company that you would like to license out. Like we have a licensing program inside of Ramonepreston University, which is under Ramonepreston Enterprises. So we can license and even white label our programs and our courses and our content, our curriculum. So that would be a licensing agreement. When someone becomes a licensee and joins our licensing program, they sign a licensing agreement. And that agreement spells out certain things. Now, again, for this one, for this agreement, our licensees get access to it, but we don't offer this agreement to our students or to our mentees. One reason is because we had to pay a lot of money to have that agreement drafted up by a law firm. But I just gave you 5 common documents used by a holding company. Did you get them? Number 1, operating agreement. Number 2, asset transfer agreement. Number 3, lease agreement. Number 4, service agreement, which is a general representation of asset management agreement, consulting agreement, coaching agreement, or educational agreement. All of them would kind of fall under the service agreement. And number 5, licensing agreement. So those are the common documents, just some of the common documents used by a holding company. Now, for all of you that are watching me, if you have any questions about holding companies, if you have any questions about structuring your holding company or the paperwork for your holding company, or maybe you have questions about one of those agreements that you need and you know needs to be used for some type of business activity, we are offering this week, which is the second week we're offering, we extended it into this week, we're offering a free business assessment. So what we do in that business assessment, either over the phone or through a Zoom, is we take about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and we assess your business. We answer any questions that you might have about your holding company, a subsidiary, the paperwork, or whatever it is that you're doing, and we give you direction and a perspective on what needs to be done based on what exactly you want to do. So if you would like to take me up on that offer, you can text the word holding to 678-276-8253. You text the word holding to that number and we will schedule a free business assessment on me. That's what we're offering. This week is the second week that we've offered it. We offered it last week. I put a limit to 10 and by Saturday, my personal assistant was telling me, I got 4 or 5 people that just reached out to me today. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we just gonna offer free business assessments next week too. So here we are into another week and we're still extending an offer for a free business assessment. If you would like to take me up on that, just text holding to 678-276-8253. Listen, I appreciate all of you. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from today's show on the 5 common documents I just shared with you that are used by holding companies. We'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on the Ramonepreston Show. Michael, I appreciate you for thanking and congratulating me. Thank you. But if you need any assistance, if you have any questions, or if you need access to those documents, we have them inside of our educational program. You can just text holding to 678-276-8253. I'll see you all tomorrow right here, same place, same time, 12 o'clock noon Eastern on the Ramonepreston